Hey guys, it's your old buddy Sam saying hi. How you doing? Right, camera's right there. How you doing? I'm doing well. Today I wanted to go over this image and talk about some of the Resident Evil 9 leaks, and I wanted to go out of my way to prove to you that this is absolutely a fake AI generated image, and don't believe anything you see here. And I'm going to do that here in a little bit. In order for me to kind of add credentials in order to do this, I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. Um, I graduated from college in 2007 with an associate's degree in information systems with an emphasis in digital design. Basically, a quote unquote very fancy way to say I do Photoshop and all that other fun stuff. And I've worked in graphic design industry for ever since then, really. It's been like a freelance job over the years while I've done something different, but I have experience in typesetting, graphic design, and everything else that goes along with that. And I have about, I would say, almost 20 years experience in typesetting, graphic design, and everything else. And I wanted to prove that this was fake, which probably a lot of you are taking a lot of the rumors and stuff that are going around with a complete grain of salt right now, which is great if you're doing that, because at this point they're pretty much all AI generated. But I just wanted to add some quote unquote actual proof that this is fake. So that's what I'm going to do here today. As you can see, I've got Photoshop booted up, and we're going to go over this image. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice about this, excuse me, the first thing that you're going to notice about this looks like a screenshot of a screen. And whoever produced this image did that to possibly add legitimacy to it. Like, oh, I got a picture of the screen. I couldn't like hook up a capture card to get you a great image, so I took a picture of the screenshot. So we're going to assume that's the direction that they were working under. And because of that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate the image just a little bit. So Resident Evil Requiem, the title right up here, looks like it's dead centered and it's typeset correctly. Let me do it just a little bit more. Okay, that looks about perfect. And that's what it would look like if it was dead centered as far as the title goes. So that's one way you can tell right away that they used it as a way to say, I got a screenshot of it. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to put it back to as close to normal as we can get. That looks good. And now that we've done that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Photoshop filters and we're going to sharpen the image a few times. I think I'm going to give it one more sharpen. Now that's too much. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to undo the sharpen. I think I'll just undo all the sharpening completely, so we can just look at the raw image of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the font settings right through here. You know, for being a screenshot or whatever, it's a pretty good fake, but you can even tell within the font setting that it's not real. And the way you can do that, let's zoom in a little more. Sorry, my Mac's moving kind of slow today, so I apologize for that. But we're going to come over here and we're going to look at the letters. And the first thing you're going to notice here is these letters right through here are not the same as the ones that are up here. And the way you can tell that right away is if you look at this versus this, this looks like it has more of a bolding effect than what this does. And I'm going to assume that this was the actual starter image. And they took a picture of the extra games, Leon Must Die Forever, with their phone, whatever. So they would have a base to start with, and then they went into like an AI program and then just generated the rest of this. I mean, the font looks similar, yes, it does. But there's enough differences for somebody with a trained eye to be able to tell you that it's fake. And the first thing I want you to notice is like I said, these letters appear to be more bolded than this right up here. Which, okay, let's use this as the base example. This is the actual font that they used. It's not as bolded as what the rest of this is, because you can obviously tell that this has more of a bold font setting than what this does. And the first letter I want you to look at is I want you to look at the L right here. And specifically, let's look at the way that the L is shaped. And if you'll notice, it has more of a clean shape, nothing comes to a point, and it's just kind of a clean look. However, if we assume that this is from the text from the actual game, we're going to assume that this is the text from the actual game and is an actual screenshot. We're going to come down to this L down here. And if you'll notice, as I highlight it, there's not as much spacing between the L and the O as there is the L and the E right here, which is kind of the first giveaway. If you notice that, there's not as much spacing. I mean, that L is like almost right against the grill of that O, whereas this L has space before it gets into the shape of the E. But if you look at the L's themselves, this one, clean, no point. Everything's good on it. But if you look at this L right here, it comes to more of a point, and up here as well, it comes to more of a point than what this one does. So you're going to have to assume, which, you know, when you do this sort of thing for a living, you get this stuff, but you're going to have to assume that they were using the same font, that you would hope that they would use the same font for the entire text throughout the message. And when developers do stuff like this, they use the same font, okay? So the first tell that you can give away that it's fake, this L comes to more of a point than what this one does. And if you look at the tops of the L's, right up here, this one comes to more of a point, is not rounded at all. Whereas the L up here, it's rounded. It comes to just like straight lines, whereas this one doesn't. So that's one way that you can tell this is faked. We're going to move on to another one. Let's look at the E up here. We'll take a look at the E. Is there anything I can close so this will run a little better? All right, I'm going to quit Discord. And in all honesty, is there anything else that I can close? No, not really. But look at this E. Okay? It's more spaced out. And if you come down here, and let's look at this end E in Nightmare Zone, you'll notice that this E is more bolded, of course, than what that one would be. And if you notice right in here, the top spacing, and I'll even zoom out a little bit so we're not so up close. But if you'll notice, this E does not have the rounded edge that this E does within the spacing for the E right in there. They're two different fonts. And you can tell by looking at this versus this, it's not the same font. It's the same letter, but it's not the same font. different typesets. And if we go to another line, we'll go to this one. As you can see in this one, it does have more of the shape of this one, but the shape itself within this one is more spaced out than what the shaping in this one would be. Let's zoom out again. Let's take the image back to, we'll take it to 200%. As you can see, more spacing in there than what's in there. And this wouldn't be consistent in the fonts regardless of however you took the picture. If you did a full capture from whatever they're capturing this input from, this would not be the case. And even if they just took a picture, this would not be the case either, because the spacing and the shape of the letters would be the exact same. Now let's take a look. Let's go back in a little bit. Let's take a look at the F's here. Okay. As you can see, we're assuming that this is the actual font versus this being a fake. The spacing is off once again because there'd be more space. And the shape of the letters is different as well. This F and all these letters that follow it appear to be more unilateral, whereas they all come to the same point at the bottom. And we'll take out our good old trusty, let me see if I can find it real quick. We'll take out the line tool. And let's see, I'm going to change that to, we'll do about 6 point something. And we're going to draw a line. Layer, rasterize layer. As you can see, because of that, everything is more unilateral, all lines up at the same point. Whereas if we go down here, and we zoom in a little bit, everything is still unilateral in the text, but yeah, everything's still kind of unilateral. Let me break off just to make sure I'm looking at it right. Yeah, everything's still unilateral, but the F's are still off. It's a different font. You see that one has that point. That one's more bolded and not as rounded, not as unilateral there. And this F, you could draw a square around that and that would show up as a perfect rectangle, whereas this one would not. Different font. So whoever generated this image, and I don't know if they use Chat GPT or whatever exactly they use, whenever somebody generated this image, it tried to match the font up as closely as possible, and it did a decent job, and to the non-trained eye, you wouldn't notice a difference. But when you zoom in on it, and I don't even think you really need to zoom in that much. If we bring it back to 100%, you can still see the differences, especially in the L's. Yeah. Specifically the L's, you can tell a big difference in the way that they're shaped and everything else. And I mean, it's just stuff like this. If you don't have a quote-unquote trained eye to it, you'd be like, oh, well, this could have been real. No, it's not. These are two different fonts completely. And they wouldn't do that because whenever you're doing font setting and font spacing and everything else, you want everything to be as unilateral as it can be. and you want everything to just look the same. And there would be no reason for it to not look the same because we have plenty of space over here for everything to be spaced out the same. So there's no reason for it to be more compressed, less spacing between the letters. So the only way that you would get something like this that looks as close as possible without being what it really is if the image was AI generated, or it doesn't even have to be AI generated. Now that I think about it, somebody could have went in, took this picture into Photoshop and just typed out the rest of this stuff. They very well could have. They could have typed it out in Photoshop, added some filtering effects to make it look like it was just straight on the image. And it's even possible that they did that and they just added some blur effect to it to make it look like it was part of that. But more than likely, I would say that this is AI generated, if I had to guess. And I mean, after you look at some of those details, you can tell it's fake. So, yeah, we are getting extra games for Resident Evil Requiem. You know, Leon Must Die Forever is already out, but we're going to be getting more. But it's not going to be any of these because this is fake. This is as fake as I don't know what, but it's fake. I just wanted to take a little bit of my expertise, pass it along to you guys so you could kind of look at this, see what you thought. Drop a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. We stream video games on here quite often. I'm working on getting a set schedule for that, but I would be so appreciative and so honored if I could earn your subscription and just earn your like, if nothing else. So, thanks for watching the video, guys. I appreciate you being here. Y'all have a good night.